What is going on, guys, and welcome back to the RAD Lab, a podcast that dives deeper into topics to help you become a better athlete, and a platform for athletes, coaches, and clinicians from the community to share their stories and experiences to give you an idea of how you can become the best version of yourself. My name is Liam. I'm a strength and conditioning coach at RAD, and I'm delighted to have you guys along for the ride as we share this journey towards further understanding the world of human performance. Now, there's been a little bit of a hiatus, but there's a very good reason for that. And we're actually going to flip the script a little bit today. I've been told that I'm being put in the hot seat for this episode. So we'll see how that goes. I don't know if anyone can really host it, but I've got two guys here that are going to have a crack. We've got Radders and Welshie in the house. So
where's your American? What would be your American accent if you were gonna? I'm trying to think of something Scott would say. Let's go, guys. No, Haintz, thanks for having us along. No, we're very excited to jump on board as that we'll be the hosts today, and you can sit in the little guest seat over there. But yes, for those that don't know, Haintz is over in America at the moment. Haintz, whereabouts are you? Give us an exact location.
I'm currently in New Haven, Connecticut, which is the town that Yale is based out of. So that's where I've been posted up for the past few months.
Yeah, perfect. And conditions there today? Are we sunny, cold, raining?
It's been very warm, actually, the past few weeks. We're heading into like autumn right now, or the fall. And yeah, that being said, it's still mid-30s at the moment. Had a bit of rain, so it's been very, very humid, as the dads would say.
Then
say again.
You got a nice tan happening.
A little bit, yeah. I've got a little bit of a watch tan happening, so I can't complain there. I'm actually coming home to summer as well, which is going to be even nicer.
Even better. Perfect.
Just warming up here now.
It's 2021 today. Unheard of in Ballarat. Wonderful. So you're in Yale, and what are you doing in Yale?
So the main purpose that I'm there is actually to do some research as part of my postgraduate degree through Fed back home. So I've got set up through a partnership with Fed and Yale. So the primary reason I'm there is to conduct some research to help with my thesis. But I'm also there to, help coach that kind of thing as well. So I've got quite a few S&C coaches on staff there, which, I'm sort of being a part of for the past little bit as well.
Yeah, cool. And can you give us just a snippet of the research that you're doing? What are you looking into? What are you trying to find out?
Absolutely. In essence, in a nutshell, we're basically looking at a type of jump to monitor neuromuscular fatigue. So what these guys do with their teams normally, particularly the football team, or like American football, is they'll use the force plates to jump their athletes before they lift. And then what they're doing at the moment is using a counter movement jump. So that's just the normal jump straight off the plates. There's good research out there to suggest that a drop jump is useful to kind of assist with those metrics as well. But logistically, it's really, really hard to do a counter movement jump and then set a drop jump up. Particularly with the way that they run their warm-up. They actually do their jumps as sort of like a station as part of their warm-up. So when you've got sort of 40 or 50 guys in a gym and you're trying to rush them through the jumps already, it'd be just, absolute chaos trying to do that with a drop jump. So we had a little bit of a think about that, and we've come up with this jump that's been around for a little bit, just hasn't really had any, I guess, proper research done with it. It's the rebound counter movement jump. So it's essentially still a maximal CMJ. It's just followed by a really fast rebound jump. So that sort of emulates, I guess, what a drop jump is, where you're sort of really looking to spend minimal time on the plates and really explode up into the air as hard as you can. So the idea behind it being the first half of the rebound jump obviously relates to the CMJ. And then the second half, the rebound, relates to the metrics in the drop jump. So where my study will come in is I'll be looking at that and how it sort of tracks neuromuscular fatigue in the football athletes. So all my testing will be based around their game day. So we'll test them on game day, and then we'll test them 24, 48 hours post. and see how those metrics, how they line up with their regular CMJ. See if we can kind of notice some differences there if it's picking them up.
Yeah, cool. Nice. And do you have the record on the CMJ at the moment, or are there some serious athletes there as well?
I will say there are some freaks at the moment. Yeah.
What's the best height you've seen?
Jump height was, I think, sorry.
Oh, from either the counter movement jump or the initial counter movement jump in the rebound.
Yeah. From a counter movement jump, there's been guys getting, I think it was upwards of like 50 centimeters. So it's probably, I think it was around 55 plus, which is pretty impressive. But what they actually do is they look at total watts. So they look at power output as well. And that's what they're currently using from the CMJ to kind of, I guess, regulate their programming. So yeah, some of the power that's come from that, we're looking at like upwards of 7,000 on a single jump. So they're pretty powerful boys.
Yeah, nice. And then how are they then utilizing that data? So they're obviously doing that before their lift, and then after or in the lead up to the next game. How are they then? Are they manipulating training loads off that, or how are they sort of playing around with it?
Yeah, so the technical term that they use for it is it's a flexible non-linear program. So essentially what that means is they'll have like a group of different exercises that they want to tick off throughout the week. So that might be split up into a few different workouts. And then based off of their performance in their jump for that day, they compare that to their norm from previous jumps, so their sort of total data. And if they fall outside of a certain range, so say if you're down, 20% on your peak power or your jump height's down, they look at that. And if there's enough sort of red flags, so to speak, then they'll modify the session for the athlete in that day. So it's a pretty fast turnaround the way they do it. They already have the lifts sort of preset in Team Builder, which is what they use the same as us. And then from there, they'll have a look at it. They'll enter the metrics quickly into like a spreadsheet. And then they'll go, oh, okay, that's popped up like red or orange or something like that. And then you might get, a different lift based on what you jump. So they sort of look at it more acutely. And then they're starting to look at things, I guess, chronically as well, as you said, like from week to week.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, nice. And take us into the whole Yale University experience. In terms of, so you've been at Federation University, a similar type of setup, a bit different. What's the facilities like for a start, and then maybe some of the experiences you've had as well.
For sure. So obviously a lot of people know about Yale already. It's in the Ivy League, so academically one of the strongest universities in America and one of the strongest universities in the world. In terms of their sporting program, they are still a Division I school, but their sporting program isn't quite to the level of, I guess you could say, like an Alabama or a Texas or those sort of, I guess, college football, colleges that I guess, overseas. With that being said, the facilities are still phenomenal. It's been really, really cool to check all that out. They run a slightly different system in the States, obviously, to what we do back home. And in that, oftentimes you'll have an athletic department. So everything that they actually, I guess, fund and everything that they have for the different sports that they use is all run through the athletic department itself. So it's kind of a standalone thing from the university altogether. And a lot of the things that they have are sort of self-funded as well. So they rely on, donations from alumni and stuff like that, which being Yale, they get plenty of. So.
Yeah, nice. And in terms of experiences at the university, have you been to a game? How many people are going to a game? It just takes into the life of a uni student at Yale.
For sure. So as of right now, they haven't started. They actually start this week. So their first game is on Saturday this week as we're recording. So they've been back at university, like in class for the past, I think, couple of weeks, something like that. Until then, it was sort of I guess the off season, you can call it. Everyone was generally away for summer. It's only recently that they've sort of got back into it. So for the athletes itself, it's actually a really quick turnaround. They have quite a short sort of camp duration. And then, everything kind of just rolls straight into the season. So, from what I've heard, they'll get a few to the game. There's a big game usually played at the end of the year between Harvard and Yale. If my memory serves me correctly, I think someone told me that it was actually the first ever like college game that was officially played way back in the day. So it's quite historical. They usually pack out the stadium for that. So
yeah, cool. And in terms of other university experiences, we've seen plenty of pizza pitches coming through. Are you staying in a frat house at the moment? Are you embracing that lifestyle as well?
No, I'm not in a frat. Thankfully I'm a little bit away from all the action. We're just staying in a little apartment just off the main drag in New Haven. So it's been quite a good little spot. But it's been cool. We've been able to sort of make some connections with a lot of the students, and you sort of, I guess, begin to realize, being a student still myself, you realize these kids they're just people at the end of the day. They're just really good at a particular sport, or they're quite academically strong. At the core of it, they just enjoy having a good time. They work hard, and they just love playing their sport.
Yeah, cool. One more around the football stuff. What's probably the most impressive thing you've witnessed so far? Or from an athletic sense.
For sure. I think probably the biggest thing that stood out to me, at least at the start, was the sheer size of their linemen. So for those people who don't know, the linemen are usually the big guys that sort of almost do the kind of rugby type scrum at the start of every play, where they're trying to protect the quarterback and that kind of thing. The average lineman is around about like 300 pounds. So 120 odd kilos. In terms of the gym stuff, they're certainly the most impressive with what they do. There's been a few guys that I've seen that have been squatting like well over 500 pounds, and there's a guy that he cleaned, I think it was like 150 kilos or something like that. So that was pretty impressive. And then there's been a few phenomenal benches as well. So they're very, very strong boys.
And is that like I know you've only had a little insight, but is that due to like they've been in structured programs since they're 13, 14, like through high school? They're often in they're doing S&C all the way through. Is that a main factor of why they can do what they're doing, or a big contributing factor, I guess?
Yeah, it's a massive contributing factor. I think a lot of people, like at that level, without a doubt, like genetics come into play. You need to be able to put on that size to be able to, do all those great feats. But I think what a lot of people underestimate is actually the time that these guys have spent in a weight room from a really young age. It's really set them up, learning the fundamental movement patterns all through kind of their sort of junior high school, so to speak, and then building strength. Even talking to a few of them, they've come from all around the country, but they all have had a relatively similar experience in the weight room, just about sort of, building that fundamental strength. A lot of them have come out of high school with like incredible numbers already, which they've only gone to, improve on.
Yeah, cool. And
No, I was going to say, from like a coaching perspective, you see all this stuff about their training camps and preseason sort of work and how challenging and grueling it is. Can you give us like a rundown of what a typical sort of day, or like what maybe the hardest day looks like for the players?
Yeah, it's particularly the last couple of weeks for the football team in particular. Like I said, with such a short turnaround from, I guess, the summer to their first game, the entire 2 weeks would have been insanely intense for them, particularly now that like class has gone back. So oftentimes you'll have guys that, potentially have a class in the morning. They'll come for a lift around the middle of the day, where they'll be doing some sort of like really, really high intensity, strength training. So, really, really heavy loads and just working super hard. They might have a class then in the afternoon, and then after that, they might do like a scrimmage or some sort of practice towards the end of the day. So yeah, in terms of load, it doesn't really get too much harder than sort of where they are right now. There's quite a few guys that are having to dig pretty deep to get through. And it's interesting, I suppose, looking at it, not just as a coach, but also someone that's not familiar with college football at all, really. The way we see it, particularly with AFL and those sort of clubs, is you generally have a longer preseason where you can kind of work on building physical qualities over time. But these guys have really sort of just had to get straight into it. So I think a lot of work goes into their off season when they're sort of away from the university to try and prepare themselves physically for when they get back. Because the truth of the matter is, if they don't put the work in, while they're away seeing their family or whatever, they'll come back and the workload will hit them like a ton of bricks and they'll probably break down. So it's been very, very telling the last couple of weeks for sure.
Have there been many injuries, like as a result of that?
Obviously, it's always super hard to say as a result, because obviously, like, there's a lot of factors that can go into it. Have there been injuries? Absolutely. There's been a couple of hamstrings. There's been, unfortunately, an ACL. Like anywhere, there's been a few injuries here and there, but I would definitely say for the coaches there at Yale, particularly the strength coaches, it becomes a really, really hard balance to sort of figure out, because obviously you want someone to be physically prepared for when they step on the field, game one. But at the same time, you're trying not to, burn the stake, I suppose, in those few weeks, leading up to it. So it's a really, really hard sort of thing to balance.
Absolutely. And then from like your point of view, what's a general day sort of look like for you? And then also, can you run us through like the staff there? Obviously, it's a really big squad, so I assume there's a fair few and so on. So can you run us through what you do, and then what sort of maybe just a snapshot of what the other guys are doing as well?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm super lucky in my role. I oftentimes just sort of become the floater, so to speak. So in particular, when they're doing their jumps in their warm-up, I'll generally be around the force plates, conducting the jumps. So they've sort of found us helping out with that has sort of helped them with their eye and making sure the players, jump properly, which has been a really important thing, because over a period of time, the players have sort of begun to figure out how they can sort of, I guess, cheat the system a little bit to try and, artificially boost their peak power metrics, so they don't have to do, the easier lifts and that kind of thing. Making sure that they're sort of got the form clean and everything like that. And then after that, in terms of the lift itself, as I said, I'm super lucky. I can kind of just float around. I can choose to either observe or I can, jump in here and there. The way they sort of set up the weight room itself, there's basically a big long row of racks, and then there's actually a second one behind that as well. So all up, I think they've got, something like 20 racks or something like that. There's quite a few guys in each lift. So it's obviously, as you could imagine, organized chaos. And what that means for the other coaches, so they've got the S&C coaches themselves. There's usually around 3 or 4 of them that are constantly sort of on the floor. And then there might be sort of 1 or 2 that have been instructed to kind of just, I guess, float around. So they sort of break it up a little bit. So, someone will monitor one area, someone will monitor another. And that sort of goes for their field practice as well in the preseason. They'll often have at least sort of, 4 or 5 S&C coaches out there to help run the session. And then they also have the team itself. They have line coaches. So similar to what you would see probably at like an AFL level or something like that. they'll have each sort of little team, I suppose, has its own line coach. They don't come to the lifts at all, but they're obviously present for the field practices. So all up, you're probably looking at upwards of like 15, 20 staff, including, you know, your athletic trainers and that kind of thing as well. So it's a pretty big operation to get them on the field.
2 more questions for you, America-wise. Have you padded up for a tackle or anything yet? And if not, when will you do that?
No, I haven't. And the reason that I haven't is I've shown a few of the guys actually some highlights of footy, of AFL. Yeah, the sort of AFL's biggest hit compilation might have made its way onto my phone a couple of times. And they're actually they're quite scared of Aussies now, I'll say, the Yale boys. So thankfully I can just sort of play on that and pretend that I'm as tough as an AFL footballer when we know that's absolutely not the case.
Show them you well then.
Absolutely not.
Perfect. Well, we'd like to see you padded up at some stage at least. And then off the back of it, what are some takeaways that you are going to bring back to Australia of things that you, different ways you might go about coaching now, or your thoughts on athletic development? Any changes or things that you make after after coming back from the experience?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the biggest things that I took away, even from the first couple of weeks that I was there, when I was sort of more just observing in my role, was the fact that, you know, it really sort of, I guess, rung true that, you know, the facilities don't make the coach. So what I mean by that is, you know, it was amazing to see such awesome facilities at Yale. You know, they have, you know, pretty much the world at their fingertips when it comes to, you know, different machines. They have, you know, a DEXA scan machine, they have an X-ray machine, you know, all there ready to go if they wanted to use it. You know, they have the tubs, all these great things, all these different, you know, resources that the coaches can use. But fundamentally, what the coaches have been doing, you know, remains quite similar to what you would see, you know, a regular S&C coach do. And that's, you know, build a relationship with the athlete and really make sure that you're actually, like monitoring what they're doing, and just sticking to, you know, the basics when it comes to training, and really making sure that you're focusing on, you know, progressing that over time. So, you know, it's, as I said, like you can have all the nice facilities and things in the world, but, you know, it really comes down to how you coach, that kind of makes that big difference. So that's probably been the biggest thing, that sort of, rang true for me. But to be honest, beyond that, I suppose the only other thing that I'd probably mention would be the fact that, you know, we hear about it all the time, that the athletes that are kind of, you know, at that kind of top level, you know, they're the ones that they do the basics, you know, really, really well. And they're the ones that are always sort of looking for that delayed gratification, I suppose. So, you know, these guys, they are happy to put in the work. They actually enjoy the process of, you know, training and improving. And they're all sort of, you know, fixated on that kind of delayed process, I suppose, that delayed gratification. So, that's probably another big thing as well, is just looking at the effort that they put in and then the success that they actually get as a result.
Yeah, cool. Nice. Certainly sounds like you're having an awesome time, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's been a blast so far, for sure.
One important one to tack on the end.
Yeah.
What's 3 food experiences?
3 food experiences? Top 3. So we've been to New Haven, is very famous for its pizza. So the 2 sort of big hitters in town are Sally's and Pepe's Pizza. I've tried both. I can absolutely 100% definitively say, without a shadow of a doubt, that Pepe's is probably better. But both phenomenal. Probably the best pizza that I've ever had. And actually my supervisor, the great Scott Talpy, was the man that pushed me to go and do it. He said, you'll have the best pizza of your life there. And I will say that he's probably right. really basic. Just a really sort of thin wood-fired pizza, tomato base and cheese on top. That's it. And just spot on. Yeah, world class. So they were both phenomenal. And then an interesting experience. It actually wasn't in New Haven, to be fair. We were in LA at the time. But we had the what was it, like the In-N-Out burger. Probably the most like stereotypical American thing I've ever had, and I think my fingers still had grease on them about 3 days later. So I still haven't. I don't think I've quite recovered from that still.
Wow. Yeah. Cool. Perfect. Thanks, Haintz.
Fantastic, lads. Well, I'm gonna flip it because I miss being the host, so I'm gonna start hosting again. But from your side of things, Radders and Welshie, obviously quite a bit going on. At RAD at the moment, we've got a few winter sports heading into their finals period, and almost sort of heading into an off season within the next few weeks. So, how's everything shaping up for our athletes back home?
Yeah, mate. Everything's flying along well. It's Central Highlands Grand Final this weekend, which we've got a few representatives in each of the all across the whole competition there, which is cool. And then Ballarat football netball prelim finals, grand final next weekend. Lots of league vote counts and whatnot, which once again it's been awesome to see some RAD athletes representing there and getting some recognition for their awesome seasons, which is great. And then off the back of that is starting to think about off-season period and prepping for next year, or those summer sport athletes starting to transition through to comp phase. So I think like a track and field, that's sort of not too far away from the first meets there. So they're starting to really ramp up and get excited for their competitions. As always, lots happening, that's for sure.
Absolutely. And I've heard there's also whispers. I'm not up with it all over here anymore, especially being technically almost a day behind. News hits me a little bit later, but for those of you who don't know, we've actually got a footy clinic coming up pretty soon, which Radders can probably give you guys a little bit more information about that.
Yeah, so on what is it, Wednesday the 27th of September, we've got a footy clinic in conjunction with local coaches, Sally Riley, Eamon Gill, and even Sophie Molin's going to come along as well. And so targeted for athletes 13 to 17, just looking to improve on their footy. And the way it'll work, it'll be 2 skill stations with those expert coaches. We'll do fitness testing almost like what's done at a draft combine, and then we'll also come into the gym, roll through a fundamental strength and conditioning session, topped off with some lunch, some good food. So that'll be a pretty cool experience. If anyone's got any questions, they can flick them through. But we're looking forward to that one in just over 2 weeks.
Absolutely, sounds very exciting. I'm very upset that I'll be missing it. I probably need a little bit of help with the drop punt, so it's a shame that I can't be there.
Give some lessons when you're back.
Absolutely. One thing I will say, Radders, is I have learnt how to punt an American football.
Good.
It is very similar to just kicking a barrel. Oh, not too bad. The secret that I've been told is you're actually looking in some instances to try and get as much height as you can, which is what a lot of people miss. So still working on it. Haven't quite figured it all out, but
because you're just trying to get the punters trying to keep the ball in the air for as long as possible, so that their team can transition down to make a closer tackle or something like that, isn't it?
Pretty much, yeah. You're looking for distance, obviously, but if you can get it sort of as high as possible and then kind of as close to the corner of the field as you can, that's generally pretty good. So then if you can kind of push the opposition team, off the field, as they're really, really far back, that helps you get a really nice high defensive line, apparently. So, so still working on that, but I'll keep practicing when I come home. And who knows, there might be a college contract for me, by the time I'm 30.
they'll offer you a deal over there.
Unlikely.
That's all right. No, perfect, mate. No, well, thanks for jumping on. And yeah, so what have you, another three weeks to go over in America? Is that right?
That's right. Yeah. So I'll be back in the actual lab, back in the lab early October. So a few weeks to go, and then we're back home, straight back into it.
Cool. And then probably, lastly is while you're over there, hopefully to catch up with a few key people to jump on or jump into the lab for some interesting chats with some friends and colleagues you've met over there, which will be really cool as well. So looking forward to those insights as coming out too.
Absolutely. The mobile RAD Lab will be in full swing. We're going global, baby. So there you have it.
Unreal, Haintz. Thanks for that, mate. Appreciate your time. Good to see your lovely face and that sweet moustache that is running there as well.
I appreciate it, Radders. Thank you very much for your time, and thanks to you guys out there for tuning in, wherever you are, and we'll see you guys back in the lab next time.